Welcome to the program Beyond Religion with host Cressida Maharaj on Isaac 98.1 FM.
What do you do when the people who are supposed to represent Jesus look nothing like him? What do you do when the place that was supposed to bring healing becomes the place where you were wounded? When the people who preached love demonstrated control? When the people who spoke about truth lived something entirely different? What do you do when church hate makes you question everything? Because for many people, the deepest wounds are not the wounds of the world. They're the wounds that came from people they trusted. And perhaps that's why church hate cuts so deeply. Because betrayal hurts most when it comes from people you believed were safe. Maybe someone listening today knows exactly what I'm talking about. You didn't leave because you wanted to rebel. You didn't leave because you hated God. You left because your heart was broken. And somewhere in the middle of the pain, you began asking questions. Questions you never thought you'd ask. Was any of it real? Can I trust anyone? Can I trust God? If that's you, I want you to hear something. Your hurt is real. Your disappointment is real. But the failure of people does not change the character of Jesus. Let me say that again. The failure of people does not change the character of Jesus. Because if we are not careful, we can begin judging Jesus by people who fail to represent him. Think about the disciples. Judas betrayed Jesus. Peter denied Jesus. The religious leaders rejected Jesus. Yet Jesus remained Jesus. Human failure did not change his character. And it still doesn't. Because Jesus never claimed his followers would always get it right. He never promised that every church would reflect his heart perfectly. He never promised that every leader would be trustworthy. But he did promise something else. He promised that he would never leave us. He would never forsake us. He would remain faithful, even when others were not. One of the greatest mistakes we can make is placing our faith in people instead of Christ. Because people make terrible saviors. Pastors make terrible saviors. Churches make terrible saviors. Only Jesus can carry that weight. And perhaps some of the disappointment we're carrying today comes from expecting people to be what only Jesus can be. Now, don't misunderstand me. That does not excuse abuse, manipulation, control, or hypocrisy. God cares deeply about justice. God cares deeply about truth. And God cares deeply about the wounds his people carry. But healing begins when we separate Jesus from the failures of those who misrepresented him. Because Jesus never manipulated people. Jesus never used people. Jesus never shamed broken people. Jesus never exploited vulnerable people. In fact, he consistently moved toward them. The woman caught in adultery, the leper nobody would touch, the Samaritan woman carrying years of shame. Jesus moved toward the broken, not away from them. So the question today isn't, has the church failed people? Society gives us plenty of examples where the answer is yes. Maybe the deeper question is, who is Jesus really? Because if your faith was built primarily on a church, a leader, or a religious system, their failure can shake everything. But if your faith is built on Christ, you discover something remarkable. Even when people fail, he remains faithful. Even when people walk away, he remains present. Even when people disappoint, he remains good. So maybe today your greatest act of faith is not returning to a building. Maybe it's allowing yourself to look at Jesus again, not through the lens of those who misrepresented him, but for who he truly is. Because the people who wounded you are not the measure of his character. The people who failed you are not the measure of his faithfulness. The people who walked away from you are not the measure of his love. Don't let the wounds inflicted in his name cause you to run from the one who came to heal them. Because at the end of it all, your healing will never be found in figuring out why people failed. Your healing will be found in discovering that despite all of it, Jesus never did. This has been Beyond Religion, removing the mask of religion and revealing the heart of Christ.
Thank you for listening to the program Beyond Religion with host Cressida Maharaj on Isaac 98.1 FM.